Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Morning.
Today we'll be talking about gendered money.
And our topic will focus on gender roles and different economic classes in Latino households.
For our team members, it's myself, Michelle Maldonado.
And me, Yesenia Camacho.
For our abstract, in this presentation, we will explore how gender roles and social class intersect with Latina households to influence economic opportunities and household labor.
With the help of sociological research, we show how cultural norms like machismo, marianismo contribute to shape labor divisions and entrepreneurial outcomes.
Despite cultural influences, structural inequalities such as education and income remain the primary determinants for social mobility.
For our research topic, it will be the interaction of gender roles, class, and ethnicity in Latin communities.
For the significance and purpose, this presentation highlights how systemic inequalities impact economic mobility, shows how cultural norms continue to enforce gender labor divisions, and raises awareness about persistent inequalities affecting Latina families.
The thesis that supports our topic is in Latin household and communities, gender roles, class, and ethnicity intersect to shape economic opportunity, social mobility, and household labor. Structural factors like employment and education often outweigh cultural attitudes, but cultural norms still create barriers for women and affect household dynamics.
Mhm. What sociological research questions does this thesis answer? It answers, how do traditional gender norms and economic status within Latino household influence economic opportunities and social mobility?
This question highlights how specific social norms and financial standing contribute to an ethnic group's opportunities and livelihood. A visible example of social stratification where groups are ranked in categories.
Mhm. For our first analysis, we found that gender and social class affect women's ability for labor opportunities from early life and have long-term consequences. In the book, The Crossroads of Gender and Class, it's discussed how gender roles are implemented and how they influence opportunities, stating, class of origin, level of schooling, and job experience and skills interact and set the maximum limits women can attain with regard to class and membership in the manual and non-manual prolimerate. This shows how specific genders are in economic battles for social stability. And it also shows that women continue to, this, sorry, continues to affect Latina communities in search for social and financial mobility. The battle for stability continues to be constant and affects women's ability for labor opportunities. This inequality is what hurts women, even even the economy in many ways. We also found that gender and economics continue to be factors in household work in Mexican origin household and hold them back from financially supporting. In the paper Beyond Cultural Expectations, Understanding the Gender Division of Household Labor in Mexican American Families, it states cultural explanations, e.g., generational status or gender and familism attitudes, of the division of household labor for Mexican origin families did not predict women's household labor, but they did predict household labor for men. Disagreeing with traditional cultural attitude led to the increased participation in men's household sharings. Our findings also support the gender perspective and illustrate how women remain primarily responsible for housework. This explains that housework is determined by time, availability, and resources, but it does not take away from the fact that women are in charge of most of the housework. This means that women in Mexican origin households continue to have the added barrier of expected household labor aside from helping financially. Even in America, Latina, specifically Mexican-oriented households continue to be a big contributor for job opportunities. but also household roles, furthering the suffering of women in their quest for better and equitable life. The importance. If Latina communities cannot have this social mobility, it limits both how women move in society and how they are viewed by society. So, this influences women to look for less jobs, feel more sense of hopelessness, and keep them dependent on someone else for financial stability. Even though the reasons to keep women at home have changed, it continues to feed a hierarchy and the thought that men go to work and women stay at home. This limits women in what they do for work, either something part-time, flexible, or easy, quote unquote, easy jobs like teaching and babysitting. And it influences lifestyle, like staying at home.
Another analysis that supports our topic is in society, individuals are automatically ranked at birth into certain social categories that are based on gender, education, class, age, and primarily target Latin communities. A good example of this is in the book Category Unequal. Macy states, although the legal foundation of school segregation were eliminated beginning in 1954, a variety of defective mechanisms continue to operate to deny African Americans, Latinos, the poor, and other social groups equal access to education. The lack of equal access to high quality education continues to be a major engine of stratification in the United States. This shows that unequal education towards minority is the major factor in stratification, creating a barrier between the groups who are privileged and marginalized. Schools are limiting access to education, therefore limiting the opportunities financially for Latin communities. This suggests that the lack of equality towards minorities is the major factor in stratification, but also creating a barrier between groups who are marginalized and privileged. Therefore, these inequalities make it difficult for Latino groups to exceed and have the same opportunities as a privileged person. In this text, it is clearly implied that socioeconomic status and experience contribute to a person's future success. As for our last analysis, it would be social mobility shapes opportunities and entrepreneurship outcomes within the Latino community. A good example of this is in the book In Class, Ethnicity, Gender, and Latino Entrepreneurship. The author discusses social mobility between two nationalities from Latin America. She compares Peruvian and Salvadoran economies, particularly how they determine livelihood. For example, she compares Peruvians before immigrating to the United States and their good social mobility, therefore making it easier to seek opportunities in the United States. As for Salvadorians, immigration isn't easy. It is much harder because of their financial standing and fewer opportunities. This shows how different experiences in pre-migration and how they shape opportunities in the US. Social class is a major factor when assessing these things such as education, occupation, and living. Those who already have stability have better chances at living a life with better occupations. This excerpt suggests that certain Latino groups arrive in the US with an advantage of opportunities and groups, which is a factor that impacts most immigrants. Overall, in America, Latinos who have privileged education, stability, and experience are likely to succeed and influence their opportunities. The importance is that shows through these texts is when immigrants come to the US, their opportunities and entrepreneurship outcomes are determined by their economic standings beforehand. Another factor is the inequality of limited education, which is a major aspect of society, and opens new doors for success and jobs, such as lawyers and doctors and engineers. Understanding these hierarchical concepts is important because they reveal the disadvantages of marginalized groups face. It's not just discrimination, but a concept that is normalized and a system based on importance. These inequalities affect Latinos by setting an authoritarian structure, reinforcing discriminatory behavior by those with superiority.
In conclusion, to reiterate, stratification gradually influences an ethnic group's opportunity and social mobility. In this presentation, we focus heavily on Latino households and how social norms, such as gender roles and social class, impact opportunities and culture. Through our research, we discussed hierarchical systems implemented in society and the effects they have on marginalized groups, whether it is traditional norms or social class. These two contribute to many Latino communities to this day.
And these are the references we used.
Thank
Thank you.
you.